In this demo, we're going to spend a few minutes viewing log files on our Pfsense security appliance. A log should act as a red flag that something is happening, potentially something bad. By reviewing your logs on a regular basis, you'll get an idea of the normal traffic on your device. In reality, no one likes to spend hours a day viewing log files. Typically, you would want to configure a syslog server so that all your logs from all devices go to one place to be consolidated for easier analysis. To view logs on Pfsense, we first need to go to Status and then down to System Logs. Once we're in System Logs, we see the General tab. Like I said, viewing logs isn't the most exciting thing to do, but it's necessary. Under the General tab, we can see that we have a timestamp, a process, a PID or process ID, and a message about the log. Let's move on to Gateways. Under Gateways, you can see that I only have one gateway on this test system. Looks like my system is grabbing an IP for the WAN network interface. You might be thinking that if it's grabbing an IP from a WAN, shouldn't this be a public IP? That answer is yes, but I do have a test network set up, and that network is connected to my regular LAN. We also have our routing logs here. Next to that, I have my DNS resolver logs. Finally, we have our wireless logs. I don't have any Wi-Fi currently configured with this device, so there are no logs for our Wi-Fi. I'll move over to my firewall logs. This is generally where you might look for malicious attacks directed toward your network. You'll see information down here with more details. As I scroll down, you can see the different source IPs that triggered the log. This one here, 172.16.1.100, is from my DMZ trying to get out to the WAN. Dynamic View shows us a bit less detail. Down here I have some WAN traffic on port 5353. As you first get a system set up, you might want to familiarize yourself with the different ports that your firewall is logging. Some ports might be perfectly normal, while others might not be. I wasn't familiar with port 5353, but a quick web search told me it's for multicast DNS and is safe, so now I know what it is. Summary View gives us a bunch of graphs that can be helpful to get a quick visual of things. Here I have my different interfaces. I have 3 in this device, one for my LAN, one for the DMZ, and one connected for the WAN. I have my protocols, and it looks like most of my traffic is UDP. Down here a little further, I can see the source IPs of what's been triggering the logs. All the 192.168 addresses are from the WAN interface, and the 172.16 address is my DMZ. I have the destination IPs in the next graph. I have my source ports next. Finally, I have destination ports. Here you can see UDP/53 listed. That's my DNS traffic. So it's good to get familiar with what your typical traffic looks like. This is called creating a baseline. This isn't covered in this demo, but it should be one of the first things you do when setting up new devices. My next set of logs are DHCP logs. Here you can see who's getting IPs from the DHCP server. Not only can you see who's getting IPs, but you can see the DHCP acknowledgement, the DHCP requests, and down here, you can see that DHCP renewed an IP for one of the clients. All of this is useful information if you're troubleshooting DHCP or need to see what devices are connecting to your network. I had this device set up as a captive portal at one time so that we could see all the events that are related to it. As a quick review, a captive portal is a web page you're taken to, such as in a hotel or other public place, before you're given access to the internet. You typically must agree to the terms and conditions before being allowed to proceed. You might have to enter a password as well. The next 4 tabs, IPsec, PPP, VPN, and Load Balancer, have no log files because I don't have any of those services running on this device. But I do have OpenVPN configured. Down here you can see all of those log files. I do have some NTP logs or Network Time Protocol logs here. The last thing I want to look at is log settings. If you noticed as we were viewing logs, there were only 50 shown. Here's where we can change that if needs be. As I scroll down, you can see other settings that you can configure. You can even reset your logs. Here at the bottom is where you can configure Pfsense to send these logs to a syslog server. I'll check this box to enable it. When I do, I'm presented with some more settings specific to remote logging. I can be specific about which interface I want to log. I can log all of them or just one. I could just log my WAN events if that's all I'm concerned about. I can choose to only have IPv4 logs or only have IPv6 logs sent. Here, I would put the IP and port of the remote syslog server that's configured to receive those logs. I don't have a server set up for this demo, but if I did, this is where I would tell Pfsense to send the logs to. The format would be something like 10.10.10.100, and it would be port 514. Port 514 is the port that Pfsense uses by default to send logs to the syslog server. Now, I would need to tell Pfsense what I want to send. I don't like information overload. I only want to send the logs that I actually need. So I might only want firewall events, DNS events, DHCP events, and VPN. In my case, that's OpenVPN. I would then click on Save, and if my syslog server is configured, it'll start to receive log files from my Pfsense security appliance. That's it for this demo. In this demo, we examined the logs in our Pfsense security appliance. We viewed many of the different logs that can be collected. We then looked at settings and some things that we can configure. We ended by explaining how to send our logs to a syslog server.